And we're live. I am your co-host, Zach. This week, I once again remembered my own name. We don't have our actual host yet. If he even shows, nobody knows if Nick's real or not. So he could still be, you know, AI or something along those lines. But we do have with us someone of a different political persuasion, which can be beneficial. And this is Mike. We will. We try not to dox people, so I think that might help you out a little bit, Mike.
Try to dox me?
Yeah. We don't want to dox you. That's people get in trouble for doxing people.
Anonymity is always a good one.
Yeah. So if you don't want to show your face, you can always back out now and not show your face. No, nobody will see this. It's not like it's live right now. So, but so how have you been? I haven't talked to you in quite a while.
Doing all right. Stuck at home a lot, working at home, taking classes online, so I hope all the fun.
Okay. Well, that's, at least keeps it interesting. We're not really catching all your audio. I don't know if it's your microphone or.
Is that mine? That's weird that it just started. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It's a kicking. It was kicking back and forth a little bit. So.
My earbuds don't connect. I guess it's because it's in the browser.
It might be. I don't know. I don't understand all these computers. So.
I think my earbuds are turning on. That's what it is. I think I set my buds down and it started the music.
Oh, okay. Nice. So, but yeah, we try to this show. I mean, in case you never caught ever the beginning of it, most people never did. Used to be all under different names. Had a couple different people, only one consistency, and that was my stupidity. But it was more a political lean show, and we tried to steer away from that. But we've noticed with this COVID-19 that almost everything's political now. There's no stepping away from the political. But we're all kind of more right leaning on this show, and I figured bringing in somebody with a centrist, would that be a fair description? Centrist, more towards the left.
Yeah, I would definitely say left of center these days.
So I mean, where would you sit in your perspective of some of this? Because I mean, I don't know if you've caught any of our shows and the direction we start leaning on it, where it's you got to joke about things for one. If you can't bring humor in, if you don't bring in the humor with things, I mean, it's just miserable.
Right. No, I mean, yeah. If politics is all anger, then we've already drifted too far apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So as far as the COVID stuff, I guess the thing that bothers me the most is how political it's gotten. That it's one way or the other. One extreme says, "Oh, it's all fake," it's not really going on.
It's the 5G, man. It's the 5G.
Yeah, there's just liberal media, fake news lying to everybody. Right. And then the other side of the perspective is, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. We're all going to die. Stay in your houses. We can't open shit up again until, next year sometime whenever we get a vaccine. And it's like, okay, those are crazy polar opposite places to be, but let's take the politics out of it and just, solve problems. I think that's the better way to approach the whole thing.
I would agree. Like with me, I maybe I walk into it a little too lighthearted. One, I can't breathe with these stupid mask things on. I already have COPD emphysema, so once you start putting these double covered masks on, you go into the places, these customers I see, and they're like, have you had shortness of breath? Well, I didn't until I put this mask on to come into your building, and now we have shortness of breath. Can we still do business? It's just there's to a degree where there's an extent people I think go too far.
Yeah.
The other thing, like with me, I'm probably a little lighthearted, but especially when it first kicked off, I looked at people. It's like I've survived malaria twice. What's another bug? At this point, what's one more run of the mill? You're either going to make it through it or you're not. You could live in fear or you can live your life.
Yeah, and I think there's a great balance that can be had with that too. Is sure, if you're healthy and you're doing well, you don't have to live in fear about it. But the biggest concern is that even though you're healthy and it may not affect you, the fact that you can walk around, and this is the crazy thing about this virus, is that we just don't know anything about it. And that the other thing is that we know, not that we don't know anything about it, we know some things about it, but that we can walk around with it and have no idea we have it. And
right, and there's a lot
healthy.
of misinformation on it. I think it's a lot of it too, and I would put that on just the direction media's gone, and then tag in social media on top of that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I started hearing from people that oh, this is happening here, and then it's like, no, that's a picture from Florida. Like, no, this is information of a whole different state. And I mean, we've had this before with things other than prior to this. The virus thing where people were like, oh, this is happening. It's like, that's not even here. That's Europe. That's the UK, like these seatbelt laws or this or that, or, this car seat thing. And like, you always see this stuff pop up, and then, you hit this COVID-19 that everybody does that. But on the hyper politicized thing, I don't know if you watch any of my social media. It's generally just lighthearted. I don't share a bunch of things anymore. I used to be, political, just to really to get under people's nerves. But I used to share things, but as years have gone by, it just kind of, hey, look, there's church services on Sunday. Here's a live stream for somebody who may not have a church. Something like that. That's about all I do really anymore, other than this. Yeah. And I let my wife manage my Instagram because I don't understand it. I am the guy who in college looked and asked the English teacher or whatever. I was like, hey, I don't understand what Twitter is, and this is Donald Trump running for president time frame, right? I'm like, I rose my hand. I was like, what's Twitter? And she's like, and spent literally over half an hour trying to explain Twitter. So I mean, I played dumb. I really did. It was pretty good, but so that's social media for me. I see you're a little more politically inclined on social media.
Yeah, I usually, if I see something that that hits me, I usually share it. Sorry, I had to go grab my phone charger. I didn't realize how low I was getting.
Right, that's all good.
Something that hits me, like, I try to keep it more lighthearted, but sometimes, I don't know, you get polarized, you get emotional, things hit you, and you're just like, man, this is messed up. And I share something, but
right. Oh, and we lost him. Well, maybe Mike's phone died, as he said that it was starting to get low, and maybe it didn't, but it looks like you've got just me. Oh, and his device is reconnecting. Okay, and we've got him back, and you're back.
I'm back.
I was doing time filler too. It's like, oh, maybe I'll be taking this show on my lonesome because it looked like it was headed that direction.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. I must have refreshed the browser or something.
Yeah, it's technology. That I've already got. One, it's D&D night. That he's not able to jump in. Got from you, and then everybody who's like a regular of this show, even a semi-regular, is not jumping in. Apparently, they're got a side job. Everybody's hurting. Like, I don't care if you make money, don't make money during this. Everybody is hurting during all this. There's no way around it.
Yeah, but back to the social media thing. Like, I don't post anything to be nasty or mean to anybody. Right. Like I saw somebody had sculpted a face of Donald Trump out of a bunch of manure, and I thought it was funny, so I shared it. But it's not mean spirited or anything. Some people may not like it, but they don't have to follow me. They can always turn off or ignore my posts, things like that. But some people feel like they just always have to, like, and it's the same people too. I've noticed with my social medias, they always got to say something.
Well, like you and I have a few friends in common. Well, one in particular that often post highly. Sometimes I think it's highly politicized, but sometimes I think it's just to get people riled up, and then other times it's like I think you're doing it literally just because you've drank all that Kool-Aid.
Yeah. And
without naming names, I think we both know who I'm talking about. Without naming names, you comment occasionally on it. That's how I know you know exactly who I'm talking about. But yeah, it's one of those. I don't see that out of you, and I think that's why I've yet to throw that olive branch out his direction. But with you, it was like your opinion seems a little more based, grounded, and you're able to have a civil discussion without jumping to the extremes of I did this, I've done that, and play these games that everybody plays anymore when it comes to it's either side with me or you're evil, and I don't see that out of you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not my style, and even when it comes to politics stuff, like, I mean, when I say I'm a center left, like, that's where I'm at now. Like, if I see a Republican that I like, I'm going to vote for him. I mean, 4 years ago, I was a registered Republican and voted in the primary. I did not vote for the president, but I voted for somebody on the right. And this time, because I see that this guy has some issues, I registered as a Democrat so I could vote in the primary. I don't know if anybody else knows this, but you don't have to, once you're registered, you don't have to stick with that. You know, if you don't like who is your party that's running, you can register and vote in the primary on the other side.
Right. And oh God, people stack that left and right all the time too, just to try to weasel out a candidate they don't like. People who actively understand politics, but what a lot of people I don't think realize is, come the long run, you don't have that where you have to vote down the party line when it comes to the general.
Yeah.
And so they're not used to how the primary and the general differ.
Yeah. And a buddy of mine once put it this way, and I think this makes a lot of sense. He goes, I'm a fan of sound thinking. You know, it doesn't matter what you label yourself. If you can put together a coherent and solid platform that I feel like will better everyone and move America forward in a great way, then I'm probably going to vote for you. You know, regardless of what title you slap on yourself.
Well, my rule of thumb is 100%, because I started out left and worked my way to the right. My leaning has always been, in America, we don't vote for who's best. We vote for, and we don't vote for really anything other than, hey, let's throw out there the concept of, we all know you're lying. Who's lying to us so well that we get the nice, warm, and fuzzy where we can pretend we believe you?
Yeah.
That's literally all it is. We know they're all lying. I will give, I think this one, it's a little less, be it whatever spectrum you fall on. With the last race, Trump and Bernie together brought a whole different table. I don't think we would have discussed veterans issues the way we did without Trump and Bernie, because both of them were drilling down on the establishment. The two of them together, you want the most screwed up running pair, it would have been Trump as running president and Bernie as the VP ticket. That would have been the most screwed up thing, because nobody would know which way to swing. But together, they brought to light real problems. They might be two different spectrums of solutions, but they both recognize the issues.
Yep. Yeah, and they're just, Bernie and Trump would be the extreme of one side or the other.
I don't know, because a lot of the stuff with Trump, I mean, when you separate out the issues that everybody throws out there, how he talks and everything like that, honestly, he's what we've all demanded of politicians for years. Bernie, he's also honest. I think he's wrong in his solutions. The math isn't always there, but he honestly at least believes what he says. And I think that's a lot of it. But with Trump, he can't speak. If he speaks, it's all of a sudden, he can't speak. He's not elegant, for one. There is no elegancy here, but he can't and not to go into the Lysol nonsense, but he used the term sarcasm, but he can't speak sarcastically. If he does, people take it literal. Everything he says must be the literal and the evil side, which sways through the media. And then when you get the more conservative leaning, they've all had to push so far to the right. They have to side with him on almost everything because you've left them no wiggle room. I think that's the biggest polarized issue. I do see that a little bit with some of the things like you post. You find that fine line where you have to go, do I do this or not? Where am I going to be going at the people who are supporting him, or am I just going at him? And there's a fine line. And I think you end up, I can see where you're tapping that line of like, okay, I got to pull back here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll poke fun at him quite frequently. When it comes to people who support him, the ones where I will be critical are the ones who are arming themselves and standing in front of the governor's office in Michigan. When you go to that extreme, and that's what I mean by the extreme between him and Bernie is, he encouraged people to protest the lockdown, and he encouraged the lockdown. So to me, it's kind of like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. So I won't go after the people because, and frankly, I get it. Like you said, he's what people wanted for a long time. So 4 years ago, I didn't like him. I thought he was a tool, but I understand why people voted for him. I have a difficult time today finding where my brain can say, okay, I see why they still want to vote for him, but that's me. But I'm not going to say you shouldn't vote for him. I'm just going to say, hey, this is who I like, and this is why I like it. And
it's like
that's not what I'm not doing that with Biden.
Okay.
Biden was the candidate who Trump was 4 years ago. I think there's several other people that would have done a much better job, and yet here we are. This is the guy. This is who we got. Biden.
The issue with Biden, though, I mean, he's handpicked, and this lockdown, this social distancing, that not being able to have rallies and campaign events is helping him. Because when you stop and look, if you keep him off camera, he goes up in the polls. When he comes on camera, he starts going down. So it's just, but the problem is it's Hillary all over again. This is 2016 all over again.
We picked the most establishment Democrat we could find to run against Trump, and that clearly doesn't work. I think that if the liberals really wanted a chance, they would have either picked someone young with a fresh face. I was a big fan of Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg was a military veteran. Yeah, he didn't have the experience that everybody had.
Well, but I think Buttigieg was a tool, but look, okay, Buttigieg was a tool, but let's go with this. We do this as a veteran, and the majority of my channel is veterans on this show. We would all tell you, we as Americans trump up our veterans to a degree. To a degree, we have to remember there are shitbirds with everything. Not everybody in the military was a good person. Not everybody's honorable. That's why we have dishonorable discharge. And some people end up out with honorables, but it doesn't mean they were good at what they did, or just because you're good with paperwork in that, and like the S1 doesn't mean you're, that's HR. Doesn't mean you're going to be good with the intel side. I mean, there's a lot of everything. It's the Army's high school all over again. It's no different than a factory, but you're forced to be with these people. And so, like, when we look, let's backtrack to when they did the impeachment hearing. We'll backtrack to that. And they started that, what was it, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. They kept going, well, he's a Purple Heart recipient from Iraq. Okay, we give out Purple Hearts for any sort of shedding of blood. That's not an honorary thing. Just because, like, I'm speaking as a Purple Heart recipient. When I got mine, it was in combat operations. He got his probably in combat operations. Doesn't mean that you're the best soldier in the world. We had people that got it because they got a cut under their eye from some shrapnel when something went off 50 feet away from them. And we got people that got them because a shell went off and hit the vehicle in front of them, and they smacked their head into the freaking Humvee window, and they got it for that because it's during combat operations and engaging the enemy. It's a real, but the Purple Heart is it's a medal, not an award, and I think that's where we find the fine line. That's a medal. An award is awarding you for doing something. A medal is showing recognition for something you've done. It doesn't make you an expert. It doesn't make you this great person. And with him, it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to judge what he was saying, true, false. It's all up on his. I'm not going to cross that barrier, because I mean that that's separate. But the the congressmen and the senators, they had to dance around even questioning the validity of his statements, and to even question, are you sure you're being honest? Because, well, he's a Purple Heart recipient from Iraq. It's like, well, okay, but, stop and look at some of the other stuff. Do we not question JFK losing a freaking U-boat, and his daddy helped him get out of it? Do we not later on question these things? Like, it doesn't make them infallible. I mean, it backtracked that to like the concept of the Pope. Just because he says something doesn't mean it's infallible. It's only when he's speaking from that seat and claims the papal infallibility. That doesn't hand in hand go together.
Well, I'll be the first person to acknowledge that I don't have military experience, so I don't have that insight that you have when you see a veteran paraded forward. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you see things that I'll never see, just because
right.
I was never a part of that world. But with Vindman, I know he was a career military guy, and I don't recall. I watched the hearings, and I don't recall the Purple Heart thing being so much as it was his service, his length of time in the military, the work that he had done, the intelligence that he had done.
I got to take care of something. So.
Oh, okay.
Talk to the audience.
That's what I remember. But when it came to Pete Buttigieg, I mean, again, I don't have that perspective that you have on him, but he was well educated. He had success in South Bend. Clearly, South Bend is not the biggest place in the world, so it doesn't face the problems that a governor might face, or someone who has been in politics forever. But I think that's my biggest problem with Biden and guys like Bernie, who've been in Congress for decades, and their accomplishments have just been making noise sometimes. And so, but with when it comes to Joe Biden specifically, it's we could have picked a better candidate who at least we would have been able to believe in, and if we would have gone down swinging. I feel like Biden is, by the end of this, we're going to be playing a weekend at Biden's where we're going to have to be propping him up with two guys and strings to pretend that he's still actually breathing, because he's up there in age, and you listen to him talk, and his mind isn't coherent like we would want it to be, but we're walking around like this is all okay. Joe Rogan's like, I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast a while back, and he's like, we got to put a stop to this. Like, the Democrats got to put a stop to this. This guy can't even talk. So, yeah, Biden is not my favorite guy.
Okay, I'm back. If Mike is still around. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of finished my thought, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Still,
No, you were good to talk whatever direction you wanted. You could have said anything you wanted. How stupid I am, anything. I am not against self degradation on this show, as long as it's funny. But no.
Yeah, I just kind of circle back on my thoughts about, Pete. Obviously, I'm not in the military. I don't have a perspective, but well educated. Clearly, South Bend's not any kind of big city, but I was talking about, at least, if they'd have picked him or Bernie, like the Democrats, if they'd have gone down, they'd have gone down swinging, and instead we picked up Biden. We just kind of default. At the end of this, we're going to be playing weekend at Biden, holding him up with two dudes and some string just to keep him afloat by the end of this. Because, I mean, the guy has a hard time talking.
Right, well, I mean, it's possible dementia. Yeah, no, but what actually happened that pulled me aside was my daughter, her skin was glistening and her eye was starting to turn a little red. Apparently she got she found sunscreen somewhere, the aerosol kind, sprayed it on the table, got her hands on it, and then touched her eye. And it's like, okay, so we just cleaned that up. 3-year-olds are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, she only got it around the eye, but yeah. So we cleaned that up. She's got glistening skin now. But no, I understand where you're coming from. Just like, as much as I almost hate to say it, if I had to lean one direction on the Democratic ticket, it would be probably Tulsi Gabbard. But I don't agree with her international policies either. They play up the concept. She's been on two deployment tours and blah blah blah, and so she can speak to the fact we can't be doing all this stuff. But if you listen to Dan Crenshaw, who is another representative, a congressman, he'll tell you the exact opposite because he comes from a different world in the military. So when you look at that, and when he explains, his makes just as much sense as when she tries to explain. It just comes down to, like, it depends on who's in charge at what point you're fighting a war and at what point you're just holding your ground. And I noticed that with the changeover from Bush to Obama, that they handled it two different ways. And it was a matter of, are you there or are you doing something? And it depended on what your occupation was to whether or not you were there or you were doing something. If you're intel, you might have been doing something more with one than with the other. And it just depends who's in charge. Yeah. If you track back to Clinton, Bill, when he was president, because we only get one Clinton president, thank God. Yeah. Imagine this right now if she had been president. You want to say it's bad with Trump, and you got those. Like, if she was,
you could flip a coin. I mean, it just. I mean, I don't think she would have ever suggested spraying Lysol inside our body, but
he didn't. He didn't. If you listen to the whole thing, he didn't. What? He didn't say Lysol at all. He said disinfectant. And and what we do disinfect the inside of people's bodies. Yeah, if you watch any Joe Rogan's podcast with Tim Pool here recently, he went into that and they banned. Twitter had to bring them back, but a company that literally disinfects the body with freaking light, or cleans the body of bacteria with light after being on long-term intubation, because they use UV light. So that would be a thing. And I'm going to throw out the one I heard off Steven Crowder channel too. And that's literally, what's chemotherapy do? It disinfects, and it's horrible, but it does it. That we do these things. It's just, at what degree do we do it? You got to remember, where are you going with, not you, but you plural, where are you going with distaste for Trump? And so it affects your view of everything he says, plus the spinning of the media. Because when you hear it first, says Lysol, then you go, okay, disinfecting, okay, picking at straws. And then, but when you break it down to, do we do this? Now, him coming back saying I was being sarcastic. Okay, look, now you're just being, I think we don't understand what the word sarcasm means. That might be a thing. But when you look at just that in itself, look at the way the media spun it and spun your opinion of it to the fact of just listing two actual legit things, where you go, oh, well, okay, I can see it. Doctors use weird terms, and he's a layman. He's the first one to say he's turned looking at the doctor. It's like, here's the audience, and now I'm looking at you. You're the specialist. I'm asking you. Forget the news people here. Now I'm asking you a question I just thought of because I'm the president and I can do that. At what point does that become a thing? Where do we say there's a difference there? He didn't look and say, this is what we will do. He said, they're looking into things such as, aren't you? And they're like, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, depends on how you define it. But it is. I mean, what's a vaccine technically do? It cleans your system or prevents it from needing it, one or the other. Depending
I
on
guess the real critique is that should have been a conversation before the meeting, and then he could have just made an announcement. These are things that these are treatments that they're investigating to see if they would work. But again, that goes back to who Trump is as a person. Like he's just, right. and I think that people expect the president to be XYZ, and Trump is, ZYX. He's not the personality that we expect to see as the president, Right. And so sometimes that plays a big role in how we perceive him, like what he said. Yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy, but you put it in perspective, like, no, we do. There are disinfectants that we use inside the body.
Right.
So, but for him to come out and say, oh, I was joking, I was being sarcastic. I mean, like,
no, he might have been being sarcastic to the media, and he might have been being sarcastic to the media and not to the doctor, because if it wasn't for the way he and they'll nitpick clips. That one reporter, they looked and said, oh, hey, look what he's doing. Yeah, he's being rude to this guy. Yeah, look at how he treated this guy. When you look at the 5 minutes before, that dude is hounding him with the stupidest questions. He's like, go away. And then finally just comes unglued. That's who he is. But I mean, how long do you stand there and take that?
The stuff with the media, I mean, that's honestly, it's a two-way street. I mean, they treat him like crap, and I'm not going to say they don't, but he's treated them like crap since the beginning. He's referred to them as fake news, and whether you agree with him or not, that is, you go around just like, if I just went around saying, Zach, you're a piece of crap. Like, Zach's just a piece of crap. Like, you're obviously going to have a problem with me, and we're not going to have productive dialogue if we go about doing that for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, we have to work together.
We have with us our host finally joining in, Nick, and he'll tell you that is exactly how we talk to each other all the time. We tell each other how pointless they are, stupid they are, and you have not succeeded in life until I have gotten Nick to tell me he hates me at least once a day.
That's pretty accurate, actually.
It's like that's more jest than what.
No. We get pretty bad sometimes. There's lines that sometimes get crossed.
Yeah.
He just knows not. He is smart enough that he's still welcome in my house because he's respectful to my wife. He can be as disrespectful to me as he wants to be. She doesn't care as long as he's nice to her. Yeah, no problems.
She's actually the reason I actually come out and visit.
Yeah, she is. She cooked him dinner nice. Too. I mean, that kind of helped. He got a home cooked meal. It was nice. He hadn't had a home cooked meal in probably like 15 years. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I've been a minute. Yeah,
but no. On that, and I think we'll backtrack this conversation. Watch this reaction, Mike, because you'll probably stick around longer than he can. Pete Buttigieg. Mayor from South Bend was running for president on the Democratic ticket. Navy guy or whatever, touting around his record.
Oh yeah.
Did see you have to bring it now. Okay, we'll go with what's your opinion of people trumping up people's military service as a reason that they're a subject matter expert in anything.
Oh, you mean like my experience as a veteran has taught me blank.
Yeah.
Oh. So the basic veteran, the like basic bitch ass veteran. I mean, basic veteran is what I should say.
Yeah, kind of. And we'll go with like the concept of what was it? What was that? It was Vindman, right, Mike? That we were talking about. That was the guy, right? From the
he was the other one we're talking about.
He's got a Purple Heart from his tour in Iraq, and so you can't question whether or not he's lying in a congressional setting or a senatorial setting, whatever. Yeah, no, that was congressional, wasn't it? Congressional hearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's a Purple Heart veteran, Purple Heart recipient.
Can't question him because he's a purple.
No, you can ask him questions. You just can't question the validity of what he says. Yeah, he must be telling the truth because he is honorable because he's done this. No, this is our show, not Mike's show. You can be as honest as you want.
Right.
He won't take offense to this.
Hold the fucking phone. Like, who the fuck says that just because you got shot at by the fuck, or because you earned the enemy marksmanship badge that you're fucking truthful in anything you say? You could be lying about the way you fucking got it, because I've seen people lie to get that award when they weren't even really fucking injured. I've seen people fucking sprain their ankle, run into a bunker.
Not saying that he did. Let's add in the caveat. Not saying that would be a fact. Let's not. No. Okay. Let's make sure you're going on your rant here, and you're towing a fine line because we brought up a specific name. You jackass.
Yeah.
Mike's back here, like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
Well, I guess to me, like, I don't know what his motivation, other than, he didn't vote for Trump, but like, he's still, as a military member, it's my understanding that you still do the job that is required of you, correct?
Well, that's like saying that you don't have a political bias, and the Army, once you hit the officer corps, especially the rank of lieutenant colonel, is all politics. It is literally about what you can do to get that full bird and then to move into your stars.
So would his testifying, and let's theoretically say he was lying, would Lieutenant Colonel Vindman do himself any favors for doing what he? You think he would do him favors in his current job now?
No, he ended up getting removed from that job, but it's not about where you're at right now. Working the White House, that's not your end goal. Your end goal is Pentagon. That's that you move up, or to move from there to being like the CG of a base. Like your goal is that first star, that second star, that'll get you moved up, because look, you showed your dedication to your country over this person and their politics, even though your personal politics weighed your decision making in it. I can't tell you how many. It's like when I got blown up the last time I got blown up, to take heat off themselves. People looked at me and said it was my own. People in command looked at me and said it was my own fault that I got injured because I was wearing my plates too low when the gear pulled down the weight and I got tossed forward in the process. Taking shrapnel, ignoring the fact that I took shrapnel to my arm, which is not covered by any protective gear other than cloth, as well as shattering of chin strap on my face, and so that plastic gouging into my face. I mean, these things, where's it my fault I got injured? But it benefited their career to shove off blame, and then it didn't benefit their career anyways. Everything got washed under the rug.
Yeah.
We had soldiers left behind on missions in past history, and they blame the soldier instead of taking personal account. So that, I mean, it is the same politics, because it's what can I do to save my career? And you're not really putting your neck on the line when you've got legal protections. I mean, look at General Flynn. When he left and got pushed out by Obama, that's where he ran into that. But he was a general. You don't really get pushed out by the president when you're outside of that general officer rank. You can, but it's so padded in the military of whether you're pro or against Trump. It's just like with the FBI. Do you question every FBI agent, or just some of the leadership and some of the decisions they've made? Be it whether you agree in whether a Russian investigation was deserved, doesn't mean that everybody's on the up and up.
I guess to me, what motivates, I mean, I get what you're saying is that they shouldn't question his integrity because he's a Purple Heart veteran. I guess I don't question his integrity because I know that what he did put himself directly in the line of fire. So to me, but you're saying from a political perspective and for his career, it's a no-brainer. But again, that goes back to the fact that I'll be the first to admit that I don't have that military perspective that you guys have.
Well, you would go in the same perspective as why did he wear his uniform to a congressional hearing when he's in a job that he doesn't have wear that uniform for? Did you put it on for show? Did you not? Yeah, and it was brought up. It depends on which news source you watch, and that becomes a lot of the thing. And we paid closer attention to some of that stuff too. It's like, why are you wearing your uniform? Like, you're not going in as a representative of the military. You're going in as a representative for yourself. Right. Just because you hold a rank doesn't mean that you're going in as you, not you going in as you're representing the military. It's a questionable. Not saying that he can't, but what's the perspective? The perspective in the public eye becomes, hey, look at this Army guy. The whole Army must be worried too. You got a lot of fucking idiots out there, and that's how they view it. That's why you can't go to a protest in your military uniform. It's illegal. It's against the UCMJ. So you can protest the government all you want, kind of, but you can't be in military uniform.
I'd like to push back on that because I mean the congressional hearing, he was there in his official capacity to testify on what he saw while he was on duty, right?
It's a gray line.
If he was in fact on duty, yeah, technically you're supposed to be wearing it because according to the Army, we represent the Army when we're in the Army 24/7, no matter what we do.
Again, gray line.
It's a really gray line, gray area.
The thing was, the Democrats are going to push
and protest.
The Democrats are going to push back on wanting him in it as much as the Republicans were going to want him not in it. It was a gray line, and that's why I say, at what point does this perspective give this perception versus this perception? So it's not that he can't; it's that should he? Are you representing you? The other thing comes into, he got the biggest gripe he had in all this, and I know we're rehashing history here, but the biggest gripe he had was, I lined up these talking points and the president didn't use any of my talking points. You know, this is my job to put together these talking points, but you're just one person. You don't have all the talking points from people in other branches. There's Navy intel there too. There's you have CIA guys that say, hey, these are the talking points, and we're not even going to tell the Army guys we have these talking points. Everybody's got talking points. Everybody wants. It's just like the news anchors and whatnot, or whatever, freaking sitting there in the press room jockeying out questions you just respond to my question because I get my soundbite. You get the warm and fuzzy. Oh, the president used my question. You followed my talking points. But guess what? Your political agenda isn't necessarily, he's got to play on the fly. You don't just direct the conversation the way somebody else told you. You have all these people giving you information. Your job as president is to take all that information and make the best decision you can. I didn't like Obama on some of his policies, but it didn't mean I hated everything he did. I was not a Bush guy, at that time frame. I was a Kerry guy, a Gore guy even from before that. I mean, I was not for Bush, and I looked and said it was like at 9/11, all that time frame, and after that, it's like, we can call him an idiot, but don't you call him an idiot. He's our idiot. We're Americans. That's our idiot. Don't you start talking. What happened to those days? We should be looking and going, yeah, screw Trump, but then look and go, hey, the UK, screw you. You're not saying our president can't come in, whether I like him or not. That's the president. You're setting a precedent by saying the president can't come into your country. Screw you. That's no different than the other horse shit going on. No, that he represents us, whether we like him or not.
Well, going back to the Vindman thing, I mean, it kind of comes across it seems like your understanding of his reason to be there is because you said a gripe to, because Trump didn't listen to what he said. But the point in being there was he was on the phone call. He was there in the room on the call, listening to the conversation and recording.
A lot of what he said. No, he was just listening. He wasn't the recorder. What he heard was this, and even the transcript said no, and other people said that's not what I heard. And they had other issues with him as a person. At what point is it, protect your career? Because now if he gets fired, like truly fired, any sort of repercussions in the military, because he's already being other people are already questioning and not wanting to do it in front of the Senate, but or Congress, whatever, wanting to question whether or not he was making the right decisions in other aspects of his life. He got approached by foreign governments to be freaking head of a leader in their military. And you're going to start questioning, is this guy legit? Well, now if he gets any sort of negative context towards him, he can go, well, it's retaliation by the president. He's got 4 to 8
You know,
years of honest to God protection in his entire career, because now he can't get kicked out unless he does something so egregious that you can't get around it. Anything shy of sexual assault, he can get away with now. And even then, well, is that accusation real, or is it because this is targeted by blah blah? He's so untouchable right now that you have to dance around all the legal gray areas to even get near him.
So is your motivation to disbelieve his testimony? Is it based on your political leanings, or is it because you believe him to be a disreputable source?
I was willing to listen to whatever got said because I didn't catch the Ukrainian phone call at the time that I just got bombarded by. It's like, he did what? Okay, what's going on? And my first go-to is, I want to believe the soldier. I want to believe the guy and the intel side, because that's my natural want,
Mm-hmm.
And then I look and go, okay, but who are you? Now, why should I listen to you? Then everything else kicks in, because I was military police. I wasn't just your average grunt. I had to be deemed an honorary grunt by people like Nick here, because I earned that right working beside them. I was collecting evidence for them. So I look at this with a whole different perspective, because Nick will tell you that there's interrogators that knew me by name because I screwed with their job. I was just good at what I did. I made their job a little bit harder, without going into full detail here. It literally was just, I was good at what I did, and I had to teach the Afghan police how to do the same job. And in doing so, with that comes that caveat of, I want to believe, but I also want to disbelieve everybody. With Trump, I don't think he's a true Republican. I mean, out of all honesty, he's not a true Republican.
No.
If anybody's a centrist, it's him. He leans both ways on everything. And he goes with, he's a businessman. So I look at him totally different than I do everybody else. And I look and go, did you toe the legal loophole? Like, okay, you might not have done anything, quote, wrong. Is it impeachable? I don't think it is. But did you toe a legal loophole where I might not want to vote for you a second time? Let's see what the information is. Vindman, he just had his character itself was put up where you couldn't question it, but when the questions did get asked, he didn't even have good answers for them. And one of them being, you got offered jobs by foreign countries. Yes, you reported them, and then you look into correct me if I'm wrong, not a natural born American citizen, him nor his brother. And so, okay, is there a chance you have leanings towards these countries? It wouldn't be the first time. Look back when this is all about Russia. Well, the Russians used to be the USSR, and they used to do that shit. And they would convert. I mean, there's a reason we have investigators in the army, the intel people that are literally spies in the army to catch soldiers of any rank that are becoming traitors to their country. We had soldiers in Hawaii join frickin' ISIS. I mean, I don't trust anybody's character just because they're in the army. So when you have reasons that I can question, that makes me question your testimony. And then when you tell me you already have a vendetta where you don't like somebody because of your political leanings, makes me have to question a little harder why you would come forward, especially when there's not. Now, that doesn't mean that Trump was right in everything he did either. But asking about Biden, oh my goodness, Biden's corrupt. Who would have guessed? Hillary's corrupt. Who would have guessed? Trump paid off people to get hotels approved, like inspectors. I don't have proof of it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's business. This is business and politics, or business and business. It is what it is. Just like I don't care about Trump's tax returns. You know why? Because I don't want to find out he probably has more money than what he's telling us, and that could be part of it. Because then, there could be something there that literally makes him look better, and the rest of us go, "Oh, crap!" But that'll get turned against him somehow. It's just like the Obama birth certificate. Did he have to show us? I mean, he should have had to have showed someone that he was natural born. But do I need to see it? I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I don't care.
Right. But he showed Trump, and Trump was
yeah.
I remember he showed Trump.
Just because he gets and it was started by Hillary, but just because Trump gets impeached doesn't magically undo everything he's done. And then you get Vice President Mike Pence. I was actually surprised they weren't trying to impeach both of them together because I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
It's funny. I don't know how. Some people are like, well, at least we got him, and at least they impeached him. The Senate didn't acquit him. They didn't even really give him much of a trial. But at least we got him impeached. I'm like, Bill Clinton was impeached, and a lot of people seem to think Bill Clinton was one of the better presidents. And I'm like, well, that's debatable.
If you weren't in the Army. But at the same time, in the Army, he cut back on troops, but he upped SF freaking movement. And we started doing more special forces work and less big army or less big military. And so we were funneling money into the special forces instead of into the main army. And we downgraded, and then we ate it later because we had to, let a bunch of, idiots in, and we got some pogue-ass motherfuckers in the army. It is what it is. But you're going to have your ups and downs with every president. But at the same time, before Nick goes to pop off, because he's got that look in his eye. So we got to do this. We got to do this.
I got to get going. I didn't have much time when I stopped.
Yeah. No. I know. We got to do this at least once while he's on. Give me 3 seconds. All right, Nick. We do this every show. We have Ethan Van Cyber Frog Planet.
Here we go.
681,636 $5,763 backers, and it is the biggest crowdfunding comic of all time.
So what's the new prize you want us to go to now? Or
I don't even know if he's doing anything new right now. Let's find out. Is there anything new? Other than there is new covers, but I already get those because of the blessings of my wife who loved me oh so much. I got the Executive Honeycomb box set, which is like a subscription box. So I get all these covers, all of them. So, and they're all in chromium, which is amazing. But I get my stickers and I get my calendar. These are amazing things. And I'm telling you, Mike, if you have not backed Cyberfrog, it is definitely out there because it's a breakaway from mainstream comics. I will tout up freaking Comicsgate to no end on this. They broke away from mainstream comics, which was shoving all the SJW stuff down everybody's throats. We don't have to. Thor is Thor. We don't need a female Thor. It is who it is. Make new superheroes. Don't change the old ones. There's no purpose in it. Batman did not need to be a Christ story, which was what Tom King turned it into. He could have took his awesomeness of being a CIA operative and put it into Batman, but instead he took and turned it into his therapist's office and destroyed Batman. Don't worry, Catwoman left him Selena Kyle left him at the altar, and so she didn't marry him, and he punches Robin in the face instead.
Well, I'm all for anything that punches Robin.
My 3-year-old, I said punches Robin in the face, and my 3-year-old goes, uh-oh. But the Ethan Van Sciver brought back. He did Green Lantern Rebirth, bringing back Hal Jordan for DC, and he brought back Barry Allen with Flash Rebirth as well. And he's done a big artist for DC. Broke away because get this one, he got blacklisted because he was a Republican, and that's just wrong. I have the same issue with the blacklisting of anybody because of political leanings when it comes to their occupation. I don't care if you're a Democrat. As long as you're selling good work, I don't care. And he's the artist, so his work he doesn't even have to write anything. He's not putting his politics in it. He's literally just, other than when he worked for Marvel and he did some subliminal messaging, and I hid the word like fuck or sex or some shit in their fucking one book. It was pretty great.
There's a whole conversation in itself is the cancel culture. Jeez,
yeah. So Comicsgate is a breakaway from mainstream comics, and it brought a lot of the bigger guys with them. They've had some people split hairs and take advantage of them. I'm not going to get into that politics. Those people have way more money than I have, so we're not going to go into that because I don't like court. But no, out of all seriousness though, like with Ethan, this is his second book he's released. He's also brought back some of his original work for the Cyberfrog, and he's writing them and drawing them himself. They're being colored by Kyle Ritter, and they're freaking amazing artwork. He needs to. Cyberfrog 1, I would give a 8.5, just shy of a 9. The artwork, I would give it a 9.5, 10. It's amazing detail. The storyline would have been great because it's actually like 3 books in one, 3 like little extra books into a graphic novel. But the issue I've got with it is I waited for a year because of it. And so if it was released like every other month, it would have been fine because it's a reintroduction. But when you're waiting a year, you're like, wait, I need the next one? Fuck. All right, where's the next one? Oh, you're still making it. Thanks. That's really the only reason I give it an 8.5 is the storyline. He's still breaking into writing. So, I don't expect perfection. Speaking of perfection, Nick, where's my artwork? And Nick's got to go magically, huh? He's like, later.
No, it is seriously late for me, though, because I got to start getting ready.
All right. Well,
I got to hit it, too, guys. It's nice talking with you. I appreciate the military insight, and gives me a different perspective.
Right. Well, you're welcome anytime. We bring in friends of the show because obviously our host never wants to show up half the time. Not that I'd be talking about Nick, but his name does come first in the Nick and Zac Show. Weird how that worked, but no, and I can't wait till this COVID-19 thing's done. I can't wait till these election cycles are done, though I don't think it's going to get much better. Once they're done, I think things will settle out and we can hopefully have more things. I really think the show was doing better before COVID-19. We did find, though, when you actually share the videos on Facebook, Nick, when you actually share the videos on Facebook, people watch them, and then we get subscribers. We actually went from having like 4 subscribers to having like 11 subscribers in not even a week, all since Nick shared it. And we're getting a lot more views. So share it on Facebook, please. Get your friends involved. Watch some of our older videos if you haven't. I mean, sometimes they carried long, and we're trying to keep them a little bit shorter now. But the last few, I think, were better than the first couple. But subscribe. Liking videos actually on YouTube is actually a thing. It actually helps the algorithms. I used to be somebody who never liked videos. Then I found out it actually helps the algorithm on bringing whether or not YouTube shares that video randomly to other people that fit certain categories. And then if you are a subscriber, hit that notification bell to get more notifications on us being on. Or, hate us. We did get a comment. I don't know who.
I'm looking at it right now.
Today.
YEUQUQU.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that means. I speak English.
I mean, I can try and sit here and decipher it because my daughter uses that same kind of like shorthand letter word type thing going on, and but
wait. If you look at it upside down, no, I mean, out of all realism, I have no idea what you said. You want to come in and clarify a little bit, please? Leave your comment, clarify. I've got no problems answering people's questions if they got questions until they if we ever get big enough that I can't answer everybody. I'm not answering everybody. I'm not living on the comment section. That's where people get screwed. Like, you can't care what people are writing. They're gonna badmouth you. It doesn't matter. That's why I don't have a Twitter. But Nick, you have a good night. You have fun at work.
Oh yeah, tons of fun. All
right, later. Guys. So and yeah, I'll kick him off. Fuck him. It's okay, Nick. We all hate you. I hate Nick's hat. He left a private chat. He called me a dick, and now he's gone. But Mike, thanks for coming on. Hopefully, this was interesting for some people. A little bit of a change up because it was, I think, more of an in-depth conversation. And I was really trying to get you talking because I'm better when I just react and piggyback off people. I found that with the, if I wanted a decent show with the old show, it's not about spewing my beliefs and my ideas to just add to the conversation. It's more of hearing from somebody else. Sometimes I can say something funny, but so I hope you didn't feel like it was a target towards you. I was just trying to get a decent conversation because you bring a different perspective.
No, I think it was great. It was great.
So
I got your perspective too, and it, gave me some things to look up with some more stuff from Vinman and go back and review some of his stuff, which, I never really felt like I needed to do it, but after our conversation, not that I'm questioning his honesty, but just kind of like some of the ways that I want to look back at how some of the congressmen on the committee approached it.
That's the thing. I don't think it's him per se, because he's going to have his perspective in view. It's just the way everybody treated him. And when you watch the Republicans, they had to watch how they questioned him. That you'll notice. They weren't as honest with him questioningly as they should have been. They were like, "Hey, we understand your deck." Okay. And then you see what's that? Shoot, I can't remember the idiot's name, who was the head of that committee and everything.
Adam Schiff.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, come on. He has been touting every time there was an investigation, the Mueller report coming out, everything. Oh, he's got evidence, and yet Schiff never showed the evidence. Like, oh, there's proof, there's this, that, another thing, and then when it came time, it's like, okay, but where's your proof? Like, I'm not holding a politician, I don't care what side you're on, responsible for what other countries are trying to do to sway. I don't care. Those other countries are going to do it. They're probably funneling money into both parties. I don't care, because it's just enough to keep us going. They just like they were hosting what was it more like, right? It would be like hosting a KKK meeting across the street from a Black Panthers meeting. There's going to be hellstorm in between if they're across the street from each other, and they were doing that, and it's proven with right wing and left wing groups in all over the country, and so they're obviously playing both sides. That shows me they're playing both sides beyond just that too. So
they have an interest in dividing us. The Russians, whoever it is, the Chinese, like if they can get us to be fighting each other instead of doing, moving America forward, then of course they're winning, because we are lacking behind in a lot of ways. And I don't want to get too in depth because I really got to split, but the Adam Schiff thing, like you said, like he didn't have the evidence. Well, part of that was because he couldn't get it. Like the witnesses came forward, they said, hey, there's all this stuff. But then every time they tried to subpoena, the president told him to fuck off.
He said he had it. Well, you would too, though. You'd be like, "Oh no, did fight for it in court." Like we would all, and we get mad at him. Like I don't care where you sit on it. You get mad at him for, well, why won't you just show it? Well, would you? if look, if you're getting, let's say
Nixon cooperated. Nixon provided documents when subpoenaed. That to me says, all right, there's something
right away.
Here that he doesn't want to show.
Well, not
he's
right
too
away.
afraid to give up what he's being asked for. Nixon cooperated.
Yeah, but at the same time, not right away. And you're not going to give a single thing over that you go, okay, let's fight it in court. When it goes to the judge, you can subpoena all you want. Wait a second, this falls under executive privilege. Now there's a judge who determines whether or not it falls under executive privilege. Once it goes to court and that judge says, no, this is a valid subpoena, then you go, okay, if you don't turn it over then you're in violation, right? Because the judge said,
I agree. I think that they rushed the whole thing because they should have waited. Like I understand the logic on, hey, we need to get this going and we can't wait 4 years a year and a half for the Supreme Court to make a decision on these things. However, I think that it was wrong for them to just push forward anyway, because we all knew what the outcome was going to be. You're not going to get the things that you need. You're only going to have witness statements on record, and then you're going to go to the Senate, and it's going to get killed. And that's exactly what happened.
Well,
so
let's
it was a misstep by not waiting.
The impeachment should 100% be used as a real severe last resort. Like, there really should be something there. And they were literally like, they knew which way it was going to go in the end. You knew, everybody knew which way it was going in the end, because there was no legit astronomical case where you could get both parties to say there was a case. You have to have that. Otherwise, you're just going to lose. You have to be able to sell to everyone the case. You're going to have outliers, but sell to the majority that there's a case. And without that, you're literally just trying to score points, and you're trying to tie up, during the leading up to the primaries, because Trump doesn't have anybody to run against. So you're trying to tie up so he can't weasel in and get people to pay more attention, so you can slide Joe Biden in.
People, but I think at best Bill Well got like 1%.
Yeah.
It was so abysmal. Like, a lot of states, like, they just canceled the primaries.
Yeah, and I mean,
some state. What state was it? Maine just canceled. Was it Maine? One of the states just canceled the Democratic primary for Democrat. Sorry, I hate when people say Democratic, because we operate in a representative Democratic Democratic Republic. So when people say, "Oh, the Democratic," sorry, it's a semantics thing for me. When people say,
"No, we're a representational republic." There's not. It's not really democratic, because democratic means there's that the majority rules thing, and we don't have a majority rules. We have the representational, which is, I used to be against the electoral college until I actually understood the idea behind it, which stops California from telling Vermont no.
Me, I've come to the conclusion that the Electoral College is laziness on both parties' part. One party wants to get rid of it, so that way they don't have to worry about Vermont or Wyoming.
They just have to worry about LA.
They can run the table with 3 big cities. And the Republicans are lazy because they know if they get rid of it, they will have to actually try to appeal to voters in very blue areas. So it's beneficial to both parties. Well, it's beneficial to the Republicans to keep it, and it's beneficial to the Democrats to get rid of it. But to me, it's both opinions are just opinions of laziness.
I see where you're coming from. At the same time, though, it goes down to, like, with the Senate, everybody's got, no matter your size, you have 2 senators. There is the side where you have the popular side, which is the representative or the House of the House. You got the House, and then you got the Senate. You have one that's the other. You have that with the popular vote and the Electoral College. If there is a giant discrepancy, then you have a right to question. There has not yet been a giant discrepancy.
No.
Not even Bush Gore, there was not a giant discrepancy. There was a discrepancy, but within a realm. If there was a giant one, that's why there's a way to argue it like Gore did with Bush, and it goes to court, and then it goes to Congress. It just becomes that hellstorm that is. Let's not ever relive that again.
No, that'd be very nice. I wonder if maybe we will see that come November, but I certainly hope we won't. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. It's really not.
It's just like the mail-in ballots, not good for anybody right now either. It just, for a general, it will take too long, and nobody will trust it. Everybody questions the legit voting of the way we do it right now, be it whatever side you're on, because otherwise we didn't have the Gore issue either. So it doesn't matter. Everybody will call foul in an election if it doesn't go their way, or even if it does go their way, because you're going to call foul. But with mail-in, there's just so much gray area. They're going to be like, well, did you get all the votes? Well, no, because these people have been dead and their votes didn't get mailed back in, but their death certificate didn't get approved until they were in the hospital. They didn't get their mail, but they died after the election. Well, where's their vote? They should have been able to vote, but they legitimately couldn't get to their mail because they're in a coma. Like, there's so much that could go wrong here. By not showing up. Just like voter ID, I agree with, because you're supposed to be a citizen. Just prove you physically are who you are. I don't question the rest of it. Are you registered to vote in this precinct of this area? And are you who you are? Because say I technically could go say, hey, I'm my dad's name, and walk in and vote for him because this, that, or another thing, and then go to my precinct and vote for me. I mean, people do this. It happens. My dad doesn't vote. He's not going to leave the house. He's registered. I'm going to go do that. People do these things without checking because you look similar even. I mean, that's why fake IDs worked in freaking bars for years. I grabbed my brother's ID.
I think one of the things that I've decided is that we can't concern ourselves with, and I'm not saying that it's just ignore it. I'm just saying as a general rule, we can't trash good ideas because we're concerned about those who would seek to abuse it. So I don't have a problem with the voter ID thing, but I have a problem with forcing people like what happened in Wisconsin, where we're in the middle of a pandemic and we are going to force you to go to the polling site when everything, all the science, all the executive orders say stay home, social distance, don't be in large groups. And yet we force people to go vote in this primary. So there has to be a better solution. Is vote by mail a better solution? No. To me, in my mind, I don't understand why we can't figure it out. And I don't know if you saw this post I made about electronic voting, where people can download an app from their phone and they can vote directly from wherever they're at, or a computer or a tablet. But there's so much concern of actual hacking, and there's so much concern over, the legitimacy of it and anything that could be tampered with. I'm like, our nuclear launch codes are computer-based. The Pentagon, the military secrets, our private conversations in the military and the government are all computer-based. Why can't we put that sort of infrastructure, and it's a matter of political will and capital to make it happen. I think to make it feasible to work.
Apparently, you don't realize how much old technology we constantly used in the military. You're still using radios from Vietnam that tells you it's not necessarily because they're good; it's because they held up and they're reliable. And don't get me wrong, I see some neat things all the time, like that they're making 40 UAVs that can fly for half an hour, whatever, that shoots out of your grenade launcher underneath your rifle, so it shoots up into the air and flies up 2,000 feet up there. I mean that's amazing, but who's gonna get that? Not little Joe Schmo freaking infantryman. It's going to be somebody who actually they view some SF guy, which I understand they're more apt to need it. But when they finally rolls down the pipeline, I mean, look at, speaking of COVID-19 and using malaria medication, type thing. We had to stop using certain malaria medications in the military that they stopped using for SF guys beforehand, that they ended up going, oh, this can cause permanent PTSD-like symptoms from this medication. So now, is it from the medicine that you took every day for malaria for a year or more, or is it for your actual PTSD? Which is it? Which trauma to your psyche did we cause? A medication or actual trauma? Like these are things that there's concerns because they're not designed for long-term use. And that's the thing. Just like this study they keep tromping around on that malaria medicine for COVID-19 comes from a VA source that isn't a legit study. They took numbers they have, but you're not taking out how old was the person, what other ailments did they have, what were they already sick, did they die of something else, or did they take this and died and had COVID-19. I mean, it's kind of like I make this for like closing argument style, not argument, but just closing for the show, because I know you said you have to go. For someone, if you drove out, say you unknowingly right now are asymptomatic for COVID-19, as messed up as this sounds, you drive out to an old school property right now. School's not even active right now, right? School property, and you shoot yourself in the head. But like, not you. Like, don't take this the wrong way. I don't want to be morbid here, but you just fell under a suicide for that. Statistically, a suicide. You fell under a gun violence statistic. You have fallen under a shooting statistic, even though it's not an active school, it's school property. That's now a school shooting. And because you died then you're a suicide as well, and you were asymptomatic for COVID-19. It's now COVID-19. You died of COVID-19. Now, on top of that, they can inherently look and say part of that is, and here's where they're, you technically can almost make that assumption. The media has made it so touted up that you look and go, I have COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
I might have it. I think I might have the symptoms. I can't survive. I'm going to die anyways. So I'll take and do it myself. I'll do it my way. I'll go out my non-suffering way, because the media is touted out. You get it, you're going to die, which isn't true at all.
No. In fact, the recovery rate is very good. But yeah, I've been seeing some reports on that where there, people who have these underlying health conditions who are being reported as COVID deaths, who, had heart disease, who had, cancers or whatever it is. But just because it sounds like they've been fluffing up the numbers a little bit, which that bothers me too, because that's just politicized.
Well, New York, they said 40% of them might not be actual COVID-19 because they didn't test the bodies when it first started off.
Yeah,
that was legit. Like, that was legit news sourcing, not like mommyandme.frickin.org. That was legit news where they're like, hey, this might not be good, and I don't care who you are. We got to jump on this because, say it was CNN first, so Fox News has to jump on it. If it's Fox News first, CNN, they have to open up about it. Even if they play it off as one news story, they look and go, and we knew that was what was going to happen. I'm sorry, I question that from the get-go. If we don't have the testing, and it took so long to test people, but we were getting numbers rapidly, they have to, and there has been people that says, like, that's how it always works. That's how it works in healthcare. It's like, yeah, it kind of does, and that's just proven the way we handle things. And they get money for helping support that hospital as well if they have a COVID-19.
Yeah, I guess my final thought is be honest and do what's right, regardless of the blowback. But I guess maybe I'm just too idealistic for the world.
Well, I think that's. We try doing that here. I mean, that's why we try to we get more away from politics for the most part. I mean, they're always going to come up, but you try to be lighthearted. You have fun with it. And like, my thing is, I don't want to attack people on it. I just want people to. I think my aunt has always put it nice. Just be kind. Just be kind. Yeah. It doesn't hurt you to just be kind. You don't have to like somebody, and you can tell them you don't like them, but you can still be kind.
Right. Yep. And we can have a discourse like this. It's civil and it's kind, and we both have different perspectives, and we're not changing our perspectives on this conversation, but we both can walk away and not be angry with each other, because we can just be kind to each other.
One of the reasons I wanted you to come on this show is the sheer fact that I knew we could have this conversation. And I, like I said, I've seen it from other people, and sometimes I want to just assume they're doing it just because it's online. But then there's the other times that I go, you're drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much. Like, how much of the Kool-Aid did you dive into here? Because what you're spouting doesn't make sense. You can't jump to everything anti-Trump is not going to be accurate. Sometimes I think you do it because you think some of the stuff's just funny. I really think you're like, I just want to see how people are going to react to this. Like, it's not necessarily because I've yet to see you drive that final nail in the coffin and go, this is where I stand. You're like, I'm open for debate. I'm open for thinking and discussion.
Yeah, it's my new life mantra. I mean, Joe Rogan says, he's like, these are my ideas, but I'm not married to them. And I think that's a good way to be. And we could get into this another time on religion if you want to. I used to be very religious, and now I still have my beliefs, but I'm not anywhere where I used to be, because I feel like, I want to explore, I want to learn, and I don't want to be tied down to this is the way it is, and it's absolutely this way, and it can't possibly be any other way.
See, I drifted from the other aspect where I started out. I started out very, almost too religious, even though it didn't. I still, lived my life, but it was very, I was highly religious, and then I drifted away. I was supposed to be becoming a minister, and then I drifted away, and then through life, I've worked my way back. I've just looked at it from a different perspective. And for me, that it's like the Newt Gingrich thing. You end up going, oh, hey, this is Catholicism. This is what it really is. That's not what I was told it was. And then you drift. I've drifted into that, but it's not. It was touted up to be evil for when I was younger. It was like that. It might as well have been damn Scientologists. You stay away from those people. You can talk to those people. You can drink some coffee with those people, but they're getting drunk in the basement. That was the stuff you got taught, and it was ironically, it wasn't from my family either. It was from religious leaders that I had, be it youth leaders and things like that. Watch those Catholics, and it's like, wait, that's not what I got taught. Like, I got taught the Catholics added to the Bible. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, as an adult, I was like, wait a second. Like, one day it just dawned on me. I was like, wait, the King James version comes after the Catholic Bible. Like, it came from so you removed books. Like, it's like, oh, it's like the NIV. We'll take the name of God out. Got it. I understand now. And I was like, oh, like, it just, one day I was just, wait, what? And then it just, like, because the concept of there was more books came up, and I was like, it just, that fucking light. I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'll be honest, that was within like the last 18 months. Yeah. I was like, wait, what? So, I drifted almost as far away as you could. I wouldn't say I went as far as like agnostic, but I went like just to the toe of agnostic, where I'm still Christian, but I'm at that the camera faces the other way. I'm, for being right-handed, I'm at that fine line, and then now it's like, oh, and I've drifted back, and with the different perspectives. And I think that that's part of life. You have to be able to grow and meet those experiences, and that shapes you both religiously, politically, socially, everything else. And if you can come to that with the right mentality and attitude, and be civil and kind to people, even if you don't agree with what they believe, think, or do, you're one up there. And you should always try to one up other people. I mean, wait, no, you're not. Okay, but you should always strive to better yourself, and and to take out that chaff that's just stopping you from bettering your life and persevere.
Yeah. Well, buddy, I got to split. It's good talking with you. I'd love to come back on sometime.
But there was times these shows could go 3 hours long, and I had to dial them back. I can't do that, because you lose I'm nowhere near as good. We'll go with nowhere near as good as Joe Rogan. You're not going to sit and listen to me for 3 hours. Half the people he has on, I'm like, they might say something
I'm not
smart.
even as interesting of a guest as half the people he's got on there.
Well, yeah, and then there's the other half that you're like, you can tell he's interested, but there's somebody there that's going to like the stuff. It's just, for me, it's like,
Yeah. All right, man.
So,
well, good night.
You have a good day, and you're always welcome on. So,
sounds good. Yeah, let me know.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. Well, this has been a different version of the Nick and Zac Show. A little more long form conversation. Ran a little bit longer, but we're trying to keep it within hour, and I think we just hit an hour and 23 minutes. So hopefully you guys stuck it out. Hopefully it was interesting for you. Like, subscribe, notification bell, leave comments. We got one comment today from a individual. I'm not going to assume your personality or gender, but we got one comment from you, and thank you to everybody who's been watching and going to watch, and you guys have a good night.